Welcome to the very first episode of the Press Pass podcast, where you get an in-depth look at everything happening at PCHS. My name is Jackson Edwards, here with my co-host,
Jack Shroyer, and today our special guest is Mason Salehi, who has a real-world learning experience as a realtor.
Hello everyone, my name is Mason Salehi. I am honored to be here as the first guest to be a part of this podcast. I am the president of Platte County DECA and one of the co-presidents for Platte County FBLA. And I've done my real-world learning experience by working with the Edlin team.
Alrighty, so how did you get into that real-world learning experience?
It mainly started off when I was when I first started my sophomore year of high school. I was 16 years old. I knew I wanted to get into the business field already. I wanted to go, talk to these other businesses and see what potential internships I can get. When I found out about the concept of internship, a student can essentially go to this company where it could be their lifelong career. So that's where my interest sparked, and I was like, oh, well, I want to get into commercial real estate investing. Let's see if I can get connected with a real estate company to start, shadowing and kind of working with. I went around and talked to a bunch of different, I made a lot of phone calls. So I talked to a lot of realtors, a lot of brokers, and I eventually found Brandon Edlin, and he is the owner of the Edlin team. And we were both talking. He had a meeting with me, and he hired me on as his intern, and I did a lot of work with him and just got a lot of that firsthand experience early to where it really benefited me in the future, that would benefit me in the future as me getting my real estate license.
So, how did you, actually, start learning and, you going out to shows and different stuff like that? When did you really just start hammering it in there?
Because you have to get your real estate license, correct?
Correct, yes.
So walk us through the process again.
Yeah, of course. So at first, obviously, I didn't have my real estate license when I was 16. You have to be 18 to have it. So basically what it was I would go out and shadow these other realtors who would do these showings. So I would go sometimes, I'd go out of the office, and if one of the agents from the Edlin team was going to go do a showing, I would go with one of the agents and do a showing on a property, or we would just go walk through a property. So I learned a lot of that stuff, and then I learned how to put a property onto MLS by shadowing another agent who does that. So a lot of that firsthand experience.
What is MLS for the viewers that don't know what MLS is?
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. MLS is multiple listing services. So it's basically where you can look up. So every real estate agent has access to it. And you could look up any house by their address, by the number of bedrooms, by the number of bathrooms, and etc.
So it's like a database for all the houses to go into. So.
Yes, but yeah, essentially it's a database. So it's where you can look up a lot of different houses and just basically look up how long they've been on the market, and you can go look at their history, tax history. So there's a lot of analytical information, but there's a lot of physical information too that you'll have access to. That is very helpful and very useful when doing some research on properties.
So you mentioned that you were doing this in partnership with FBLA, is that correct?
Yes.
So what are you guys doing to kind of with that partnership?
Yeah, of course. So now that I'm a realtor with the Edlin team, I spoke with my partnership team, and we discussed about what business we want to be a part of, partner with, because we were part of the chapter project partnership with the business project. And I had the idea of, I'm a real estate agent with the Edlin team. This would be a great opportunity for us to, partner with them, so then we could do a lot of community service and volunteering stuff for them, while simultaneously me benefiting the business as well, and basically just kind of getting the word out there and really building a lot of those networking skills. So doing this partnership with FBLA and then working as a real estate agent is it's a unique situation, because I'm the realtor, I'm the business, and I'm also the student. So it's very, very interesting. Yes.
So have you gone out, sold people houses? Have you do you have customers that you're working with?
I mean, that'd be really nice if this started happening at first. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. Not at the beginning. I mean, most real estate agents do not actually get the ball rolling, like what you just said, until 6 or 9 months. But I've been doing some work. I've been doing some work kind of outside of school, just with real estate. I've been hosting open houses. It's right now the market for houses is very low right now. It's not.
Is that because of high interest rates?
High interest rates, and then also it's the holiday season, so you're not going to see a lot of people buying and selling around this time. But it's a perfect opportunity for me to kind of host these open houses still, because I may not be getting a lot of traffic in these houses, but it's kind of getting me the experience of like what I do at an open house. Like I'm going to be researching on MLS about the property. If there's a potential client who asks a question, I got to know what it is because I am essentially the real estate expert. So like, doing that experience. So I've been doing a lot of those open houses, but unfortunately, no closings just yet. So yeah.
Yeah, so you were talking about like how you have to take this realtor test when you're 18.
Yes.
I am in newspaper, so I've talked to you a little bit about this, but like really just go into depth about how hard the test is, how you have to study for it, and just how it was like a grind.
Well, I mean, according to my school and according to a lot of other outside resources, it is one of the hardest tests in the country, and I agree with that. It is that test. If you are not with it, if you're not dedicated to real estate, you will not pass. Like you're going to be retaking this test so many times.
What goes into the real estate test?
So there's a lot of things that do. A lot of it you won't really use like in real life. It's like one of those tests, but it's still knowledge you need to know to become a realtor. If you ever do the real estate school, you'll actually see a lot of like attorneys taking the class to get the real estate license because they might have to deal with like something. They might have to deal with a case deal with real estate, with a contract. So you learn a lot of the legal stuff. You learn a lot of the property management stuff, rental. You go into everything, and they just throw it all at you in 1 week. And you got to really know how to manage your time wisely when you're actually, doing this. Because if you're not with it, if you start to like not want to study for it because it's like something that doesn't seem like it's real estate related, you won't pass at all. But it's really something where when I went to real estate school, they try to scare you. It's a very intimidating. They will scare you. They will scare you on purpose. Like,
real estate boot camp, just
Get down on the ground! Give me 50!
That's basically what it was. It was like a boot camp, essentially. Like, we started with 15 students in the class, including me. And we probably, at the last day of that class, we probably ended with like 8 or 9.
Oh, dang.
So there are actually students who will leave, like, in the middle and just stop because they got too scared or something like that. And it's very, very common. But I was strong. I stuck with it. Got the license.
Did you do the class? Because I know it was like 1 week. Do you go somewhere to do it? And like, did you do it over the summer?
I did it over the summer. So I did it this past summer. So I went to a career education systems, which is the real estate school that I did it with, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock. So it's a 9 to 5 thing.
Oh.
9 to 5 class.
Just to be clear, you haven't touched NCC or NCAPS at all, really, have you?
Yeah, I didn't do it with in relation with NCC or NCAPS. And actually, it's funny because I was going to do NCAPS. Like, I was planning on doing NCAPS this year. This is my senior year of high school. But me already being in real estate and being a real estate agent, I started thinking about it because I went to one of the sessions with NCAPS. So I was like, wait a minute. Aren't they trying to get you with a business and get you involved while I already kind of did that myself? Is kind of what I asked myself. So I called Mr. Clemens, who does the global business logistics strain of it, what I had signed up for. And I basically told him my story and everything like that. And he said, well, you already did my job. You don't need to do NCAPS. You're good. Honestly, there's really no point in me doing NCAPS. Because that's going to take some time out of my day where I could just be doing some real estate work. If I have a client or something, I might as well, go do a showing or something like that than just going to extra school to get the networking while I already did that. So,
and so how you do work release like after 4th hour into PLT? Yes. How did you get that?
So I basically asked. I was talking to the front office about it, and they do offer like part-time student agreements for anybody wanting to go part-time. It doesn't even have to be with like what I'm doing. You could actually apparently get that part-time agreement with people. Like, I know some people who do it with work. Like, they just want to work more hours. So they'll just do it and they'll just go to a job. Like, you can, like, Price Chopper right over here. Somebody could just do a part-time work release and just go work at Price Chopper from, like, 12.
But you have to be a senior and you have to have all your credits to be applicable to do this.
Exactly, yes. Because, as a senior in Platte County, you don't have to take a math, social studies, and science credit your senior year. You only got to take that English credit and then whatever other practical arts or fine arts you want to take. So that's basically what I did. I'm doing Introduction to Academic Prose, formerly called Critical Discourse, and I'm doing 3 other classes with it, and then I'm just doing that since I already did all my math, science, and social studies.
Yeah, so it's the opposite of slacking off. You have to work harder in order to get this, just to be clear.
Basically, like, I even doing this, I kind of thought I'd have a little bit like a little bit more free time, but I really don't. I'm grinding out through the week, doing a lot of real estate work, and then going to my job and everything like that. So, but essentially, I really like on the clock all the time. That's the thing about real estate. You're really just on the clock every day.
Oof.
You're an independent contractor, but you never know what's going to come up. So like obviously with open houses during the weekends, I will do open houses, but it's kind of you just got to be on the ball. You got to really hustle at the beginning. So,
all right. Well, thank you for those insights, Mason. I think we're going to transfer over here to our next segment, which will be about books that the library offers. So they've sent us over kind of a list of books that have to do with real-world learning, kind of the Portrait of a Graduate, which includes that. And we've all chosen a book that kind of stood out to us. So I'll pass it over to Jack to read the summary of his book.
The book is called "And Do Hard Things." It talks about teaching us how we can work with our body, how experiencing discomfort, leaning into it and paying attention, and creating a space to take a thoughtful action and turn it into true indications of cultivating inner strength. What I take from that is like, if you're in discomfort, you can just like be like, all right now something's not working. I have to find out and really make really have resilience and like try to get through this.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. I mean, with Mason, he did hard things. He went and got his real estate license and did all that.
Yeah, so he worked through it.
Yeah, I'm actually going to pass it over to him right now to read the summary. Just that right there, Mason. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. You want me to read it out loud?
Yes. Yeah, this is a podcast, Mason.
So. Okay, well.
So name of the book and then read off that blurb.
All right, the book is Better Than Before and is all about our daily habits and how we can improve them. And then it basically says afterwards, Rubin describes habits as the invisible architecture of our life. We repeat about 40% of our behavior almost daily, so our habits shape our existence and our future. If we change our habits, we change our lives. I really agree with that.
Yeah, very insightful.
Now I kind of want to read that book now.
Yeah, there you go. See, and that's why we're doing this, is so we can make you guys aware of these books, and if they pique your interest.
I mean, it's something that like a lot of like people want to get in the real world learning or wanting to do something like what I did. It's really helpful. Like you learn a lot of great skills and just stuff that like not a lot of teenagers are talking or like really thinking about, like that's on their minds. Because I've met so many teenagers who are like told like, hey, I've got my real estate license, and then I've told like a bunch of adults too about it, and they're like, oh wow, when I was a teenager, I wasn't even thinking about that at all.
So the book I chose was The Infinite Game, and it argues that business is not a competition but an infinite journey, and that to do well in it, leaders must advance a just cause, build trusting teams, learn from their worthy rivals, and practice existential flexibility. So that just shows that you can learn from anything, anywhere. As long as you have the right mindset and you do hard things, you can just push yourself forward and play this infinite game.
That's what's about it, because there's always something like with the infinite game. There's always something you can learn. Like your learning will never stop. Like everybody who's like doing something like this, you're always willing to learn. You're always willing to learn something new.
Yeah, and yeah. Thank you to the librarians for giving us that opportunity to read you off the blurbs of those books. If you have any interest in reading those, go to the library and check those out. The librarians will help you there. Now we're going to move on to our next segment, which would be your guys' comments, questions, or suggestions. But Jack, why don't you walk them through that?
So in the description of this podcast, there will be a link which will take you to a Google form, and you'll fill it out with your comments and questions about the podcast or our school, then suggestions on how we can improve the podcast or who we should have on next.
Yeah, so if you guys want to see somebody specific, or if you want to see anything specifically improve, just go and write that there in the Google form, or fill out a comment or question about anything going on. But that about wraps it up. So once again, I'm Jackson Edwards.
And I'm Jack Shroyer.
Mason Salehi.
Here for the Press Pass Podcast. Have a good one.